Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is John chapter 14, verses 15 through 18. If you love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it sees him not, neither knows him, but you know him, for he dwells with you and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, motherless child.
I'm like a motherless child in a peculiar tumult, rejected by close relatives who say I'm in a cult. Cause I say Yahshua's my savior and Yahweh's the creator. They notice my mistakes, forsaking the change in my behavior. Another day in the life of a slave, yet being led by the Spirit shall keep us guided through this maze. And there we sat down by the rivers of Babylon, and there we wept when we remembered our home, and they that carried us away, some nerve required of us a song. How shall we sing Yahweh's songs in a land not our own? It makes me wanna holler the way they do my life. I roar like a lion, yet still feel like a motherless child, a long way from Zion. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. You know, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. It's a long way from home, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. It's a long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like getting down on my knees to pray. You know, sometimes I get down on my knees and pray. You know, sometimes I get down on my knees and pray. It's a long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. You know, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. You know, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. It's a long way from home. A long way from home.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. I guess it was about a month ago, a sister asked a question about Zadok. And one of our extended family out in California, I think San Diego to be exact. And that question has been basically eating at me for about a month straight, because there's so many levels of how this family earn their serving position closest to Yahweh because of the sacrifices that were made early on. And that same concept goes all the way through Yahshua, all the way up through the prophets. It is just a never-ending situation about the decisions that we make and how it's going to affect, our future offspring. And we have to consider that we may be looking at some of the very sons of Zadok and don't know it. Sometimes you have a push and a zeal for something and you don't really understand why. There are certain ones, just like we read off in Ezekiel. And it was talking about that the sons of Zadok would be closest to him to serve, minister unto him. Now, the ones who were not as faithful, they were still priests, but they were not as faithful. They didn't have that same level of dedication that the sons of Zadok had. They didn't make the same kind of sacrifices. They will minister unto the people. But he specifically talked about how those that come near unto Yahweh, how they were going to be dressed. They were going to have head coverings, all of these things. And we start to pick some of these, little bits and pieces up. And then when we do get asked some questions, it kind of helps us put together a bigger portion of that picture and understand why we do the things we do, not really understanding what position we may eventually hold. Now, Deuteronomy 25 and verse 4 says that you shall not muzzle the ox when he treads out the corn. The cattle were used to trample upon the sheaves. The sheaves lie open and expanded on the threshing floors, and the cattle continually move around them and thus tread out the grain. They are left unmuzzled, meaning they get to partake of that which they themselves have labored in. When Elohim appoints us unto a service, there are liberties that are automatically acquired through the vocation by which we are called. Let's begin today's sermon in Exodus 23. Exodus 23, and we're going to read verses 20 through 25.
Verse 20. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared.
So this angel has a job. He has some duties that were given unto him. Now, whenever Yahweh gives some duties, there's automatically some authority that goes with that duty. They go hand in hand. You know, you can't tell somebody that, you know, all right, I need you to sweep that floor, but then they don't have the ability to walk on the floor. How they gonna sweep the floor if they can't walk on? Go ahead.
Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him.
Okay, so if his name is in him, when he speaks, he says, thus says Yahweh, but do understand, he ain't got to ask Yahweh to come and say, move out my way on this flow, because I've been given authority, I've been given a job to deal with this flow. I don't have to ask for authority to be on the very floor that I was commanded to sweep. So he's not going to have to come and ask Yahweh when you said, no, you can't step here. When you picking yourself up off that floor, you'll realize that he had authority on that floor. Yahweh letting you know, I'm telling you now, don't provoke him. He's not going to conversate with you. He's not going to negotiate with you. He's not going to check to see how you feel. He's not doing any of that. He was given a job, and he was given authority to do that job. I suggest you leave him alone when it comes down to his job. Go ahead.
But if you shall indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak.
Listen to that. Obey his voice and do all that I speak. Wait a minute. Who's speaking there? You hearing one voice, but the words come from some another entity. Now, are you concentrating on who you think is speaking? Which one are you focused in on? Go ahead.
Then I'll be an enemy unto your enemies, and an adversary unto your adversaries. For mine angels shall go before you, and bring you on to the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off.
Now, mine angels shall go before you, and bring you. And then at the end, he says, I will cut them off. He gonna bring you. There's a team effort going on here, whether you know it or not. A lot of times, all we do, we thank Yahweh. Well, we thank Yahweh. We thank Yahweh. We don't understand. There's a whole team of angels. There's a whole team dealing with these things. It's not one individual. We like to give all the praise and glory to Yahweh because that's where the praise and glory go. But understand, he's not individually doing each thing. He has individual angels who follow the charge that they were given. And even if you tried to give them thanks, they're going to tell you, no. Don't thank me, thank Elohim. That's why sometimes when they ask the angel, so what is your name? He said, oh, you ask my name, seeing it is secret. Ain't none of your business what my name is, man. Because I come back, man, you're going to have a festival and you know what I'm saying? You're going to be celebrating. You're going to be lifting up my name. And then I'm going to be in trouble with Yahweh. Check that out. That's all you got to do to get in trouble with Yahweh is take some of his glory, whether you took it by accident or on purpose. Hey, man, why do you folk down here singing to you? I don't know. No. There's some people down there singing to you. How do you know your name? Well, see, what had happened was, okay. So you told him your name. For what reason did you tell him your name? Well, Yahweh they asked. Okay. But I told you what kind of people this was, right? Didn't I tell you what kind of people this was? So why you tell them your name? Right. Go ahead.
You shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works. But you shall utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images. And you shall serve Yahweh your El, and he shall bless your bread and your water. And I'll take sickness away from the midst of you.
I will take sickness away from the midst of you. But you got to follow these instructions that I'm giving you. But I'm giving these instructions through another entity. Please stop thinking that you're dealing directly with Yahweh. This is probably going to get you in the biggest trouble, because when you think that you are dealing directly with Yahweh, you then begin to believe that you can bypass some other things. That is going to get you killed. Let's go to Matthew chapter 16. See, when you begin to think, me and Yahweh, we cool like that. And then that angel come off the top rope and knock your head off. Now you're saying, I can't believe Yahweh hit me. Yahweh wasn't the one who hit you. It was that other entity who had that job to lead you to the top of the hill, and you didn't get to the top of the hill, and now that's going to fall back on him because that was his job. So he got to let you know not to step in his way no more. So now he got to go upside your head. He ain't trying to kill you. He just need to let you know. You see this lane right here? This HOV lane. I got a lot of people rolling with me. Stay the hell out my lane. It ain't nobody but you in that car. I got a caravan with me. Stay out this lane. Matthew chapter 16, and let's start at verse 16.
And Simeon Peter answered and said, You are the Mashiach, the son of the living El. And Yahshua answered and said unto him, Blessed are you, Simeon Bar-Yonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto you, but my Father which is in heaven.
Blessed are you because he has given you the ability to see what most people cannot see. Go ahead.
And I say also unto you that you are Peter, or Cephas, and upon this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
All right. So he then gives him this job. All right. He says, you are the rock. I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So automatically when he gives him this job, there's authority that is connected to this job. Keep reading.
And I'll give unto you the keys of the kingdom of heaven.
Wait a minute. I'll give unto you the keys. This is why the Euro-Gentiles set up their Catholic Church on Peter. They didn't set it up on Paul. Paul is the one who went to the Gentiles. They wouldn't hurt. Let me tell you something. Peter didn't want to even deal with the Gentiles. Yet they're going to build a whole church on Peter. Why? Because of that key you're looking at. See, the key means authority. He has authority to make changes. First thing the Gentiles made when they, took everything. All right, look at it. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this Sabbath thing. All right. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all held it down. But look at, we done with that. That's why they had to get the one who was given the keys. Peter wasn't dealing with them. It is utterly amazing how an entire congregation, an entire branch of worship is based on a man who wouldn't even deal with them. Cephas wasn't giving them two. He was automatic. He was the one sent to the Jews, not to the Gentiles. He wasn't going all them places. Saul was. But if they claimed they was a part of Saul, they don't have any authority there. See? They need to be able to magnify their authority. So they automatically got to say that they are a part of Cephas, that they were his offspring. Now they can make changes and then put a stamp on those changes and say it was authorized. Go ahead.
And whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven.
That's what they want. Go ahead.
And whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
Well, then this is power. This is automatic power. Go ahead.
Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Yahshua, the anointed one. From that time forth began Yahshua to show unto his disciples how that he must go on to Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day.
So he is telling them, the people who are under him, he's telling them his plight. Now, he just gave one brother authority and keys to the kingdom. Read.
Then Cephas took him and began to rebuke him.
Wait a minute. So now he just got keys. Now he going to rebuke his master. He just got authority. And his authority is, I'm going to go over on top of the person who gave me the authority. Y'all sure know what that was. Satan done got on your back, boy. Go ahead.
Saying, Be it far from you, Adonai, this shall not be unto you.
Now, he wasn't trying to be negative. He's trying to implement what he's trying to implement. He don't want to be without Yahshua. No. What you saying can't be right. But whatever you heard from Yahweh, you heard that wrong. No. Well, this is the best thing we've ever seen on earth. Why would you leave here? Now we want our way. Have all of the crying and everything that we doing at the funerals. It ain't for them people. It's for us. I'm gonna miss you. What I'm gonna do? It ain't about, you know what? You were tired. You have been suffering. You get to rest in peace. You ain't got to worry about feeling that tube up your nose no more. You ain't got to. That ain't what we dealing with. We dealing with us. Right. Go ahead.
But he turned and said unto Cephas, get you behind me, Satan. You're an offense unto me. For you savors not the things that be of Elohim, but those that be of men.
Right away. Did Yahshua have some kind of apprehension about, you know what, I just gave this brother this power. I just gave this brother this job. And Lucifer got on him and he got right in and right. There wasn't a pause, wasn't a skip, wasn't a step, wasn't nothing. Look, I know what I'm dealing with. That's why he said, Cephas, Satan desires to sift you like wheat. Why? Because I know you the next in charge. So I'm coming for you. He not ready to try Yahshua. All right? He done tried Yahshua 3-4 times over. It says that when you resist him, you know, the adversary will flee, and then angels came and ministered unto him. But you got to resist that season where he come at you. And he come at you 3, 4, 5 different ways. So you think you won one. See, the punch just set up for the kick. Everybody watching the punch and they don't warn you. Hey man, he got knockout power. So all you do, you watching the arm, you watching the arm, you watching the arm. Next thing you know, this kick come laying right across the side of your face. Knock. What happened? You kept watching the one thing. Lucifer didn't come at Yahshua just one way. He waited till he was hungry, then said, why don't you command these stones that they be made bread? Let me tell you something. You stand in the midst of bread and you ain't ate for 40 days. Half the time, that's how they get us at these finer restaurants. We go to the fine restaurants, they bring out bread, butter, and olive oil. Damn it, we gone. We sleep by the time the meal come out. Sir, would you put it in the to-go box? I ain't never had bread like that. What did y'all put on that bread? Done deal. We ain't never bread. We misunderstand when we read that. Command these stones that they may be made bread. You don't understand how trying it is if you ain't ate in 40 days and you got bread. Real bread. Real bread. Not that stuff that you get at Walmart. Not that Wonder Bread. I'm talking about bread that you wonder if it's bread. No, I'm talking about real bread. You might not eat nothing else that day. And he wants to put that in front of him in his weakest moment. That's the kind of trial that he gave Yahshua. So, all right. Well, I'm not ready to try him. Who's next? Oh, you. He just gave you the keys, right? You got the key to the building, right? All right. Well, you next. Next up. Understand? And he didn't have no thing. He wasn't trying to save his feelings and that. Look, I'm letting you know. Hey, he desires to sift you like wheat. Buckle up, homeboy. Go ahead.
That was it.
All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. You know, one of the things that we read in our oracles say, grieve not the Holy Spirit. You know, all you have to do to grieve the Holy Spirit is go into a different direction. Remember, the angel was put in place to lead the children of Israel, and that angel was going to be dealing with all these groups of people, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. It's going to deal with all those people, but it has a direction and a focus of how it's going to deal with that. When we decide that we're going to make a turn, Now we've grieved the Holy Spirit. Why? Because the Holy Spirit said, no, we're going that way. Yeah, but this is a shorter path. Yeah, but those people over there are stronger than these people. We need to go beat up them. If we met with these people first, we're going to have some problems over there because they're going to keep strengthening themselves. We can come back and get them. Yeah, but it's a shorter path. You about to die. Beware of him. He will not pardon your transgression. In other words, he not finna negotiate with you. That angel didn't negotiate with Moshe. So, oh, man, you got all this power, man. You got all this power. Look at it. When you go down there, throw down this staff, you know what I'm saying? Oh, man, it's going to turn into a snake. Look at it, man. You ain't going to do that, man. Perform these miracles. Next breath, he said, you know what, man, I'm about to kill you. You got to think about what did that seem like to Moshe? It's like, man, is Yahweh schizophrenic? How you going to give me these powers and then try to kill me in the very next day? You know what, man, I'm giving you all these powers, but you know what happened? You know what? You didn't get them little boys circumcised, did you? Man, I got to kill you. Man, I know I gave you all these powers, man, but them little uncircumcised boys can't go over there. Yahweh, it's an uncircumcised land. We going to Egypt. No. You going to what's future Israel. So you need to be circumcised before you go in. Oh, Yahweh deep. What I need to be circumcised for? Ain't it set up in there? You do remember I killed somebody last time I left there, right? But I got to circumcise these boys? Yeah, you're going to have to circumcise them. And I really don't care how your wife feel about it. This is what normally gets us. That inner part of how your wife feel about this. Oh, and the book was very clear. She wasn't happy at all. At all. Circumcised the boys and threw the foreskin at his feet. You can't get no more disrespectful than that. I had a lot of disrespectful situations. I ain't never had nobody throw no foreskin at my feet. Never had that kind of disrespect. That was disrespectful. But you know what? It don't even say that Moshe even entertained it. It was disrespectful. Now, what one of us, if it have enough, woman, you gonna disrespect me? You gonna throw some foreskin at me? He didn't even, hey. Yahweh got glorified, right? All right, well, let's keep moving. Come on, baby, let's go. What are we fighting for? What my God needed me to do has been done. Yeah. It was a little disrespectful in how you did it. Come on, baby, let's keep walking. We got a long journey ahead of us. Let's go. What are we fighting for? Sometimes we have to know what things are worth dealing with. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, let's start at verse 1.
Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yahshua HaMashiach, our Adonai? Are not you my work in the Adonai? If I be not an apostle unto others, yet doubtless am I to you.
Yet doubtless I am to you. I know the job and the labor that I have done here. Go ahead.
For the seal of mine apostleship are you in the Adonai. Mine answer to them that do examine me is this. Have we not power to eat and to drink? Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brethren of the Adonai and Cephas? Or I only and Barnabas? Have not we power to forbear working?
Wait a minute. If I was given this authority, then I have authority to make assignments. Go ahead.
Who goes a warfare any time at his own charges? Who plants a vineyard and eats not of the fruit thereof? Or who feeds a flock and eats not of the milk of the flock? Say I these things as a man, or saith not the law the same also? For it is written in the law of Moshe, you shall not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treads out the corn. Does Elohim take corn for oxen?
Take care for oxen. Go ahead.
Does Elohim take care for oxen? Or saith he, it is all together for our sake. For our sakes, no doubt, this is written, that he that plows should plow in hope, and he that has treashed in hope should be partaker of his hope.
Right. He get to partake of the very field in which he labored. Look, strangers can come in the field as long as they don't bring a bag and eat in the field. How you gonna tell a man that he can't eat in the same field that he labor in? You gonna tell a man that he can work on a farm, but then he got to starve to death, and it ain't nothing but food around him? Go ahead.
If we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? If others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used this power, but suffer all things, lest we should hinder the gospel of Yahshua.
And sometimes when you don't use that power, sometimes people think that you have neglected that power, or you have somehow given it up, as if you don't have the power to use it down the road. Just said, okay, I haven't used it. That don't mean I don't have it. But sometimes we get accustomed to things. Well, you know, that brother don't never do such and such. That don't mean he can't. Well, you know, that sister don't never do such. That don't mean she can't. Go ahead.
Do you not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar?
Right. That's why it says the priests profane the Sabbath and are held blameless. The priests don't come to rest on the Sabbath day. The priests come to work. Priests pick up offerings on the Sabbath day. Priests get paid on the Sabbath day. It says if they work of the things of the altar, those are the things that's supposed to feed them. Go ahead.
Even so has the Adonai ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel.
That they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. The gospel's supposed to take care of them. Just because I decide to work, don't mean that, you know what? He should always have a job. That was my decision. That I not hinder the gospel waiting on, hey, well, look, we got to do this because I need to be taken care of. But do you then get used to that? What happened in the day that a brother say, you know what, I'm done. I done toiled here 30 years. I'm done working. Then do people then come and say, well, wait a minute, brother. You in transgression because you've gotten accustomed to something that was a liberty? Go ahead.
But I've used none of these things, neither have I written these things, that it should be so done unto me. For it were better for me to die, than that any man should make my glorying void. For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me.
Constantly I'm in want. Go ahead.
Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me.
For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. So it matters how we do what we do. Not just that we did it. How did you do it? Go ahead.
What is my reward then? Verily that, when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Yahshua without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more.
For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all. That's a sacrifice of your time, of your everything. Now here we go again, getting back to that question I got a month ago about the sons of Zadok. You see a different level of sacrifice that some make. Go ahead.
And unto the Yehudis I became as a Yehudim, that I might gain the Yehudims, to them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to Elohim, but under the law of Yahshua, that I might gain them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some.
So at verse 22, to the weak became I as weak. Verse 21, to them that are with the law as without law. Do you come in at a point and see something and think you know what you're looking at, when he is in fact doing what he needs to do to gather all men? But what happens if you walk in there and you say, I'm strong, and then you walk in and he is dealing with some weakness so that he might gain the weak? How do you perceive that? Go ahead.
And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Know you not that they which run a race Verse 24, know you not that they which run in a race run all, but one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain. And every man that strives for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beats the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway.
Right. So then he understands that he has to be keep continual watch over himself, understanding that he may end up getting cast out himself. Let's go to Acts chapter 18. You know, I had read about the sons of Zadok many times, but it is very interesting to go back and read something after you have a different level of understanding and go and read it again, and then it just keeps opening up unto you. Then you understand why they made those statements unto Yahshua that said, who is worthy to open the book? How did he become worthy? Oh, he paid the price. The previous labor. So that labor gives us a certain access that men don't just get, they earn. It says something about the General Assembly and then the Church of the Firstborn. Wait a minute. What's he talking about? I mean, you said it's going to be, congregation, but understand there's separation. There's a general assembly. Just like in that priesthood, you got those who are going to minister unto men, and you have those who are going to minister unto Yahweh. Those ministers unto men can't come near his. They ain't going to be near his seat. Go ahead, Acts chapter 18, and let's start that at verse 1.
After these things, Saul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Yehudim named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Yehudim to depart from Rome.
Check that out. The children of Israel, the Jews, were kicked out of Rome. Now, if these people look just like the Romans, how they know which ones they were kicking out? He said, all of them, y'all get out of here. Go ahead.
And came on to them. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them, and wrought, for by their occupation they were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Shabbat, and persuaded the Yehudims and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Saul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Yehudims that Yahshua was the anointed one. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go on to the Gentiles. And he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house named Justus, one that worshipped Elohim, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on Diadne with all his house. And many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were baptized. Then spake Diadne to Saul in the night by a vision, be not afraid, but speak, and hold not your peace. For I am with you, and no man shall set on you to hurt you. For I have much people in this city.
Verse 8, at the end, it says, many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were baptized. It's interesting when you encounter these people with their different doctrines, that now they want to tell you that you baptized by the word, because none of those individuals have seen any water. So then they said that they were baptized by the word, but if they already had believed, then they should have already been baptized by the word. It says, and Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed in Adonai with all his house. And many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were baptized. Once the minute they read the word, if they were baptized by the word, they should already been baptized. You got to know when something don't make no sense. How does their doctrine deal with when you have an individual that says, there's water, what does hinder me to be baptized? Was the word floating around in that water? Go ahead.
And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of Elohim among them. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Yehudims made insurrection with one accord against Saul and brought him to the judgment seat, saying, this fellow persuades men to worship Elohim contrary to the law.
See, this is why Saul does not back down about his power in this word, because, no. He said, I suffered for this. See, when you suffer for something, there ain't a soul on earth that can take that authority from you. Because you earned your way. Go ahead.
And when Saul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Yehudims, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O you Yehudims, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of words and names...
You see what they know about us? Listen to the folk. If it be a question of words and names, man, we got folk been in the word 20 years and they still arguing about what his name is. No, you say it like this. No, you say it like that. I got a question. How you say lie? How you say steal? How about you worry about that? We've been spending 20 years trying to figure out how we going to say his name, whether or not we're going to deal with it. Hey, it's time to move on to something else. He said, man, I'm not finna be a judge of such matters. It's a waste of my time. Sitting here listening to y'all talking about which one is right. I ain't dealing with that. Go ahead.
But if it be a question of words and names and of your law, look you to it, for I'll be no judge of such matters. And he drave them from the judgment seat. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat, and Gallio cared for none of those things. And Saul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren, and sailed thence into Syria. And with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn his head in Cenchrea, for he had a vow. And he came to Ephesus, and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue, and reasoned with the Yehudims. When they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that comes in Jerusalem. But I'll return again unto you, if Elohim will. And he sailed from Ephesus.
I must by all means keep this feast. Even with all of the authority and power and all of that he has in going to these places, I must still submit myself. I must by all means. Go ahead.
And when he had landed at Caesarea and gone up and saluted the church, he went down to Antioch. And after he had spent some time there, he departed and went over all the country of Galatia and Phrygia in order, strengthening all the disciples. And a certain Yehudim named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Adonai, and being favored in the spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Adonai, knowing only the baptism of Yohanan.
All right, so he knows only the baptism of Yohanan. So these are key points that you have to ask people when they have a bullhorn and they have, they draped in their lampshade stuff and they out there yelling at you. So you ask them, all right, so when you baptized by the word, what was the word of the baptism of John? And how was that different from the word of the baptism of Yahshua? Now, which word changed the baptism? And watch that strange look. Because people desire to rule over you, believing that you don't have certain things to answer when they go into this thing, you got to ask, okay, all right, so explain to me the difference between the baptism of John then. What's the baptism of John? What was it? Was it a different word? What was it? So the word baptized this one different than the word baptized them? Come on, now tell me what's the difference with the word? Was one of them speaking Hebrew? Was that what it was? What was it? Go ahead.
And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them and expounded unto him the way of Elohim more perfectly.
Now, he's speaking boldly in the synagogue. But guess what? He wrong. So they bring him over to him. And this is a man and a woman. They bring him over. Let me explain to you some things that you may not know. Go ahead.
And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who when he was come, helped them much, which had believed through grace. For he mightily convinced the Yehudims, and that publicly, showing by the scriptures that Yahshua was the Mashiach.
All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 16. See, Yahweh gave Saul a hell of a job, but Saul had done a lot of things in his past. See, he couldn't just get his job to anybody. Cephas wouldn't have been able to do Saul's job. Cephas wasn't about that level of persecution. He wasn't about that level. Now, he was given the keys. He was the rock of which he was going to build a church on, but Yahshua, no, you can't handle this right here. See, there's going to be a different level of persecution. See, you're called for the job, and you are strengthened for the job of which you were called to do. That don't mean you can do that job over there, though. You can do the job that was given to you. Even though his job has honor and holding up, being the foundation, he can't do that job over there. And we see that right away. Soon as the smoke came, the Cephas, I tell you, I don't know the man. He said, oh, yo, you gonna cuss? You gonna swear? You gonna do all that? Right. Saul did with this everywhere he go. Not once did he say, I tell you, I don't know the man. Not once. Right. Just because he was the rock that the church was built on, you can't do that job over there. That's not your job. He was given strength for his job. Saul was given a different kind of strength. And he had a different kind of level of debt. All those people he had done persecuted gave him strength and resolve every time he got persecuted. Every time he got persecuted. Yep, I remember I did this to a brother. Every time he got persecuted, I remember I did that to a sister. Every time he got persecuted, I did this to a whole family. Every time he got persecuted, he didn't back down. He was given power to deal with that part of the job. That part of the job was his. The other people would have been left that job. Oh, I'm out. We would have found a place in the word. It say, if you were persecuted in this city, then flee you to another. Right. Now we want to pull up the fleeing word. Right. That's because you wasn't strengthened to do that job, because that one's not yours. That's why, it says covet the best gifts. What's the best one? The one you got. Covet that one. Deal with that one. Because dealing with that other one over there across the room gonna get you in trouble. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 1. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given order to the churches of Galatia, even so do you. Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay him in store, as Elohim has prospered him, that there be no gathering when I come.
Now you're talking about order, okay? Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store, as Elohim has prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. Look, you deal with your people, I'm gonna come and deal with you. Don't have all those people sitting there when we come. And people always talking about, well, you know, they gathered on the first day. He said he didn't want no gathering on the first day. Go ahead.
And when I come, whomsoever you shall approve by your letters, them will I send to bring your liberty onto Jerusalem. Liberality onto Jerusalem. And if it be meet that I go also, they shall go with me. Now I'll come unto you when I shall pass through Macedonia, for I do pass through Macedonia. And it may be that I will abide, yea, and winter with you, that you may bring me on my journey whithersoever I go. For I'll not see you now by the way, but I trust to tarry a while with you, if the Adonai permit. But I'll tarry at Ephesus until Pentecost. For a great door and effectual is opened unto me, and there are many adversaries. Now if Timotheus come, see that he may be with you without fear, for he works the work of the Adonai, as I also do.
Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta say that when he's dealing with his folk? See, one thing you have to do is you have to know your folks. Timotheus was mixed. His daddy was a Gentile. His daddy was a Greek. His mama was a Jew. He know Israel. Hey, look here. When Timotheus come, see that he may be with you without fear. He know his folk. That what happen when you know your folk. Hey, y'all go over there watch Uncle Junebug. For what? Y'all know he ain't, Junebug not quite right. Make sure ain't none of the kids around Junebug. When you know some folk, you know, hey, make sure they don't mess with him. Go ahead.
Let no man therefore despise him, but conduct him forth in peace, that he may come unto me. For I look for him with the brethren.
Let no man therefore despise him. Sometimes you got to go extra hard to make sure that there's order. Why? Because you know your folk. Now, is he giving special treatment? Yeah, he giving special treatment. Because they're going to give him special hell. So he need to have special treatment to go with that special hell that's about to come toward him. Go ahead.
As touching our brother Apollos, I greatly desired him to come unto you with the brethren, but his will was not at all to come at this time, but he will come when we shall have convenient time. Watch you, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, be strong, that all your things be done with love. I beseech you, brethren, you know the house of Stephanus, that it is the first fruits of Achaia, and that they have addicted themselves to the ministry of the saints. That you submit yourselves unto such, and to everyone that helps with us and labors.
That you submit yourselves unto such. All right? These are individuals who have labored, and to everyone that helps with us and labors. Go ahead.
I am glad of the coming of Stephanus and Fortunatus and Achaicus, for that which was lacking on your part, they have supplied. For they have refreshed my spirit and yours. Therefore, acknowledge you them that are such.
Therefore, acknowledge them for the work that they have done. Respect them for the labor that they have put in. Go ahead.
The churches of Asia salute you. Aquila and Priscilla salute you in such the Adonai, with the church that is in their house.
The churches of Asia salute you. Aquila and Priscilla salute you much. The churches of Asia salute you. But Aquila and Priscilla salute you much in the Adonai, with the church that is in their house. Let me tell you something. When they have put that church in their house, let me tell you something. They suffer a lot of things. See, there's a certain level of suffering that you don't know unless something is in your living room. You might look at it and you might be a part of it, but you didn't have to deal with it like that. That's why he said, whoa. Salute the churches, but salute them much. Why? Their labor was higher. Their sacrifice was higher. And he didn't say salute just Aquila. He said, no, that man got a wife, right? See, when Yahweh gives a man a wife who has a purpose, he is giving him a forever help. See, whenever somebody help you in the job, they can get tired one day and say, you know what, man, I don't want to do this no more. But see, let me tell you something about the dedication of a woman. This is why when you start going through this, you're going to keep running into all these women who helped. The dedication level of a woman is just higher than a man. It just is what it is. You can deal with it how you want to deal with it. So when he calls a man and gives that man a wife, that man has a dedicated helpmeet to help him do his job. He says, salute them much, because I know what they done suffered having this church in their house. Go ahead.
All the brethren greet you. Greet you one another with an holy kiss. The salutation of me, Saul, with mine own hand. If any man love not the Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, let him be anathema, Maranatha. The grace of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach be with you. My love be with you all in the HaMashiach Yahshua. Amen.
All right. Now we have to remember verse 20. All the brethren greet you. Greet you one another with an holy kiss. I want you to remember that. Acts chapter 16. Acts chapter 16, and we're going to read verses 1 through 15.
Verse 1. Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Yehudis, and believed, but the father was a Greek.
Okay, so his father was a Greek. Israel automatically knows this. This is why we read before. Hey, make sure that he's able to be there without fear. Make sure he's able to do these things, because I know my people. We're going to try to take his authority. You don't get to take his authority. I don't care what you think his daddy was. I don't care what you think his background was. If he labor, he got the right to have power in the labor that he works in. Go ahead.
Which was well reported of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium.
Listen to that. Verse 2, it was well reported. It was well reported. What do you mean it was well reported? Everybody kept saying, you know his dad a Greek, right? Hey, do you know his dad was a Greek? Hey, what's happening, man? You seen Timotheus? You know that brother Greek, right? Hey, you seen Timotheus? Did I tell you? Man, shut up. I heard this 22 times. Is he laboring? Is he doing the job? Well, leave him alone. Go ahead.
Him would Saul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him because of the Yehudims which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek.
They said, hey, man, he getting too close. We see that curly hair under there. We know. Hey, man. Hey, the dude circumcised? He getting too close to that temple, man. He got to now protect this guy. Hey, man, I got to protect you from my people, man. They different about this thing. Go ahead.
And as they went through the cities, they delivered them the decrees for to keep that were ordained of the apostles and elders which were at Jerusalem. And so were the churches established in the faith and increased in number daily. Now when they had gone through Phrygia and the region of Galatia, and were forbidden of the Holy Spirit to preach the word in Asia, after they were come to Mysia, they essayed to go into Bithynia, but the Spirit suffered them not. And they passing by Mysia came down to Troas, and a vision appeared to Saul in the night. There stood a man of Macedonia and prayed him, saying, come over into Macedonia and help us. And after he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavored to go into Macedonia, assuredly gathering that the Adonai had called us for to preach the gospel unto them. Therefore, loosing from Troas, we came with a straight course to Samothracia, and the next day to Neapolis.
You know, sometimes, we look at the work that we do, and we think, we doing something. Man, we sitting in one place broadcasting to all these places where he had to turn around and go physically. All that right there. Oh, he took up and went here, and then he left here, and he went down. We done did all that since 1 o'clock. Go ahead.
And from thence to Philippi, which is the chief city of the part of Macedonia, and a colony. And we were in the city abiding certain days. And under Shabbat we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made. And we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped Elohim, heard us, whose heart the Adonai opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Saul.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was baptized, and her household, she besought us, saying, if you have judged me to be faithful to the Adonai, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us.
Right. There's a reason why some of these things, when it gets down to, and when she was baptized, you're going to have people are going to avoid those such readings because they can't explain that, so they're going to stay away from it. Let's go to Luke chapter 7. But you see the dedication that goes with, once one believes, there's something that has to be accompanied with that belief. Luke chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 36.
And one of the Pharisees desired him that he would eat with him. And he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to meat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Yahshua sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment, and stood at his feet behind him weeping.
Now, this box of ointment is valuable. All right. So understand, she's bringing something of value here. Go ahead.
And began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with the hairs of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that touches him, for she's a sinner. And Yahshua answering said unto him, Simeon, I have somewhat to say unto you. And he said, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had 2 debtors. The one owed 500 pence, and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me therefore, which of them will love him most? Simeon answered and said, I suppose that he, to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, you have rightly judged.
All right, so he says you have rightly judged. Now he's going into the levels. All right? See, there's levels. You have a man who has Yahshua in his house, and he automatically believes that he stands in a better position than the woman. He believes that he's in a not just in a better position, but he believes he's a better person. Now Yahshua start talking. Go ahead.
And he turned to the woman and said unto Simeon, seeth you this woman? I entered into her house, but you gave me no water for my...
What's her name?
Woman.
Woman. We know his name. No. We about to deal with this. This one who you looking down at. You see that woman? Let me tell you about this woman. Go ahead.
But she has washed my feet with tears and wiped them with the hairs of her head. You gave me no kiss. But this woman, since the time I came in, has not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil you did not anoint, but this woman has anointed my feet with ointment.
So at this point, he is now being called out. You looking at this woman thinking that you so much above her. You don't really understand the labor that she done put in. See, first of all, her love is greater because she knows she got something to pay for. Go ahead.
Wherefore I say unto you, Her sins, which are many, are forgiven.
Her sins, which are many, are forgiven. So are you looking down at her? She done labored in the right way. She knew who to come to. I stand in your house and you offered me nothing. You thought that you done a good thing by letting me come in your house. Go ahead.
For she loved much, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loves little. And he said unto her, your sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, who is this that forgives sins also? And he said to the woman, your faith has saved you. Go in peace.
All right, let's go to Romans chapter 14. See, it matters how we deal with some things here. So here it is. He's looking at this woman, but this woman she has tunnel vision on, I'm going to do right by this man right here. But see, the people in the city know what kind of deeds she has done in her past. Romans chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 1 through 23.
Him that is weak in the faith receive you, but not to doubtless disputations. For one believes that he may eat all things, another who is weak eats herbs. Let not him that eats despise him that eats not, and let not him which eats not judge him that eats, for Elohim has received them.
Now, where it gets interesting is sometimes we don't know the instructions that were given. You know, it's one of those things where Yahweh says, behold, I send an angel to go before you and lead you in the way. Provoke him not. Here's the problem. He ain't tell you what he told the angel. He told you not to provoke the angel. He didn't tell you the angel's instruction. So at what point do you think you understand the instruction better than the angel? Go ahead.
Who are you that judges another man's servant? His own master he stands or falls. Yea, he shall be holden up, for Elohim is able to make him stand.
You have to wonder at some point when the children of Israel was wandering in this wilderness, Yahweh said, you know, you wandered in this wilderness long enough. At what point? Was it that point when they said, you know what, let's rise up and make us a captain, man? Because, man, these dudes don't know where they going. Bro, we done went in circles 3 times, bro. So they thought it was an accident. Now Yahweh like, no, you're not leaving out of here. You ain't ready. Now, you know what, man? Let's just appoint us a captain and turn around and go back. Go ahead.
One man esteems one day above another. Another esteems every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day, regardeth it unto the Adonai. And he that regardeth not the day, to the Adonai he does not regard it. He that eats, eats to the Adonai, for he gives Elohim thanks. And he that eats not, to the Adonai he eats not, and gives Elohim thanks. For none of us lives to himself, and no man dies to himself. For whether we live unto the Adonai, and whether we die unto the Adonai. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Adonais. For to this end Yahshua both died, and rose, and revived, that he might be Adonai both of the dead and living. But why does you judge your brother? Or why does you set at naught your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Yahshua. For it is written, as I live, says the Adonai, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to Elohim. So then, every one of us shall give an account of himself to Elohim.
So if every one of us has to give account of himself to Elohim, we have those things that are written in the law. Then we have the things that are commanded of us. Now, if we have to give an account for that, understand how we dealt with the job that was given to us. We realize as we go through this legacy, oh, they have great bearing on how we are judged when it comes down to the things that we didn't do according to the law. So then you have to ask yourself, when we then come in the way of a work, are you then coming in the way of somebody's salvation? You don't know what they got to work off. See, sometimes you'll get in the court and they say, did you do this? I did. But you know what? I noticed that you did some community service work over here. And I see that you did such and such and such and such. You know what? We're gonna go ahead and just give you probation on this one. They didn't say he didn't do it. They said, we've looked at your other deeds. And it looks like you're trying to do better. So when you consider that, and it may mean the difference between them being held accountable for some other stuff because they didn't get to finish this because you intervened. Now, what does that mean for their salvation? Now it looks like that's a little bit heavier. Do we even consider that? Go ahead.
Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but just judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. I know and am persuaded by the Adonai Yahshua that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteems anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. But if your brother be grieved with your meat, now walketh you not lovingly, destroy not him with your meat for whom Yahshua died. Let not then your good be evil spoken of.
Right. You may have the liberty to do that thing, but does that thing then cause your brother to stumble? Does it then cause your brother not to do the work that they have either vowed or have been charged with? Now your liberty has caused a brother to suffer. Now how are we going to deal with that? Go ahead.
Let not then your good be evil spoken of. For the kingdom of Elohim is not meat and drink, but righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Spirit. For he that in these things serves Yahshua is acceptable to Elohim and approved of men. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace and things wherewith one may edify another. For meat destroy not the work of Elohim. All things indeed are pure, but it is evil for that man who eats with offense. It is good neither to eat flesh, nor to drink wine, nor anything whereby your brother stumbles, or is offended, or is made weak. Have you faith? Have it to yourself. Before Elohim, happy is he that condemneth not himself in that thing which he allows. And he that doubteth is damned if he eats, because he eats not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin.
All right. So now let's go to Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12. See, one of the things that Yahshua was doing with his disciples, he was always teaching. He never let up. Every time something happened, it was a teachable moment. Luke chapter 10, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12.
After these things, the Adonai appointed other 70 also, and sent them 2 and 2 before his face into every city and place, whither he himself would come. Therefore he said unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray you therefore the Adonai of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. Go your ways. Behold, I send you forth as lambs among wolves. Carry neither purse, nor scrip, nor shoes, and salute no man by the way.
Now, pause for a second. Now, we read where Yahshua, where Saul is saying, greet them with a holy kiss. We go in the law and how we supposed to greet one another. Then Yahshua turns around and he sends these individuals out and he says, salute no man. Now, do you then, because you said, well, look, I know what the words say, how we supposed to treat one another. This brother is a transgressor of the law. I spoke to that brother didn't say nothing. Now you assume that you can look at that by what is written in the book, but that brother has now received instructions. Salute no man. So what happened when the people speak to him and he don't speak back? Is he now going to be a devil in your eyes? Because you think you understand his instructions? Because you think you understand his job? Interesting. Go ahead.
And into whatsoever house you enter, first say, peace be to this house. And if the Son of Peace be there, your peace shall rest upon it. If not, it shall return to you again. And in the same house remain, eating and drinking such things as they give. For the laborer is worthy of his hire. Go not from house to house.
The laborer is worthy of his hire. Which is the same thing as you shall not muzzle the ox that treads out the corn. That which one labors in, they have the power to stand in it because they paid the price with their labor. That's why it was a foul question for them to ask, give us that we may sit on the left and the right hand in your kingdom. Hold on, bro. You ain't did that kind of work, bro. You can't sit down, man. Bro, if I let you live 1,000 years, bro, you ain't gonna be able to put in that kind of work. You don't understand. You can't sit there. Go ahead.
And into whatsoever city you enter, and they receive you, these such things are set before you. And heal the sick that are therein, and say unto them, the kingdom of Elohim is come near unto you. But into whatsoever city you enter, and they receive you not, go your ways out into the streets of the same, and say, even the very dust of your city, which cleaves on us, we do wipe off against you. Notwithstanding, be you sure of this, that the kingdom of Elohim is come near unto you. But I say unto you, that it shall be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city.
Which is the same thing when Saul went, he shook off the dust of his feet. He wrapped out his clothes and said, all right, I'm clean of this. I'm done with this matter. Let Elohim judge from this point on. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 4. See, one of the things that we have to prepare ourselves for is the regathering of the children of Israel, which is going to be a very tumultuous gathering. And in every town, he got his little sanctuaries. So what's going to happen? As those things get together, then people are going to be given certain authorities, certain things, and then we have to be able to give each one of those captains the room to do the things that they have been charged with. This is going to get bigger. But when something gets bigger, it has to be organized in that you have to give those people the opportunity to do the job that they've been charged with. Go ahead.
And it fell on the day that Elisha passed the Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, behold, now I perceive that this is an holy man of Elohim, which passes by us continually.
All right. She perceived that this is a holy man. This is of her. Now she's married, but she is the one who's watching. And you're going to find as you go through this book, Yahweh will end up appointing one of these women to take care of one of these brothers as they do their job. Go ahead.
Let us make a little chamber, I pray you, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed and a table and a stool and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he comes to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, say now unto her, behold, you have been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for you? Would you be spoken for to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, what then is to be done for you? And Gehazi answered, verily she has no child, and her husband is old. And he said, call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, about this season, according to the time of life, you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my master, you man of Elohim, do not lie unto your handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, my head, my head. And he said to a lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim, and shut the door upon him, and went out.
Now she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim. She didn't lay him in her bed. Go ahead.
And she called unto her husband and said, send me, I pray you, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of Elohim and come again. And he said, wherefore will you go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Shabbat. And she said, it shall be well.
You have to wonder at this point, when he died in her arm, did she even tell the husband? He asking, so what you gonna go to him today for? Fool, your son dead. What do you think I'm going for? But don't worry, it shall be well. Go ahead.
Then she saddled an ass and said to her servant, drive and go forward. Slack not your riding for me, except I bid you. So she went and came unto the man of Elohim to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass, when the man of Elohim saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi, his servant, behold, yonder is that Shunammite.
Now, she has lodged him enough to know where he would be coming from. She done learned his comings and goings. She know where she could find him. Go ahead.
Run now, I pray you, to meet her, and say unto her, is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, it is well. And when she came to the man of Elohim to the hill, she caught him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to thrust her away. And the man of Elohim said, let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her, and Yahweh has hid it from me, and has not told me.
Now, why would Yahweh do that? You let me heal this woman. You let me give this woman seed. You let me do all of this. But then when the very seed that you let me bless the woman with dies, you don't let me know? Why would you not? Why would you hide that from me? See, one thing you have to learn when dealing with Yahweh, that you on a need-to-know basis. He tell you what he wants you to know. He show you what he want you to see when he want you to see it. See, maybe if he's seen this, because he automatically has this drive, he has this love for this woman, he has this respect, I'm going to go and I'm going to automatically go and revive this child. But what does the word say? It says, when there's a sick among you, let them go to the elders. Yahweh won't let him come to her. I ain't telling you. I'm going to purposely not tell you. And I'm going to see if she going to show up. And if she don't show up, let her child die. Read.
Then she said, did I desire a son of my master? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Then he said to Gehazi, gird up your loins and take my staff in your hand and go your way. If you meet any man, salute him not.
Now, wait a minute. Here we go again. You meet a man, salute him not. Now, what if everybody like, hey, what up? What I go, guys? What up, dog? And he turned around and keep going. Does he appear to be a devil under you? See, now we at that point where we're judging another man's servants, believing that we understand the instructions that were given unto that man. That ain't your job. Go ahead.
And if any salute you, answer him not again, and lay my staff upon the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, As Yahweh lives and as your soul lives, I'll not leave you. And he arose and followed her.
Now, what happened if he spoke to somebody? Did that automatically negate the job that he was trying to do? Now, what happened if you keep pushing because you think he ought to speak? Hey, man, here goes some brothers who came down from such and such place. Man, they're not going to be here that long. You surely need to gather with us. Go ahead.
And Gehazi passed on before them and laid the staff upon the face of the child. But there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him and told him, saying, the child is not awake. And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore and shut the door upon them two and prayed unto Yahweh. And he went up and lay upon the child and put his mouth upon his mouth and his eyes upon his eyes and his hand upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm.
What happened there?
Give you his spirit.
What happened? There was a transfer of spirit right there. All right. So when you met Keisha Jones at the club, and you laid your hand on her hand, and you put your lip on her lip, and you put your leg on her leg, when you got up in the morning, you didn't feel right. What happened? Read, man.
Then he returned and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, call this Shunammite. So he called her. And when she was come in unto him, he said, take up your son. Then she went in and fell at his feet and bowed herself to the ground and took up her son and went out.
All right. Let's go to Galatians chapter 2. See, this job was too big for even Gehazi. Yahweh wouldn't let him do it. He had done other jobs. His master had no reason to believe that he couldn't do this job, but Yahweh wouldn't allow it. Certain jobs have to be done by the man himself. No. You're going to have to go do this. You're not going to be able to send somebody else to go do this one. You're going to have to do this one. That woman set aside that place for you. You going to have to go back personally and take care of this business. Now, he had to go back personally, yet Yahweh purposely hid it from him because the woman had to play her part. She had to play her part against all odds and go see that man. So now, when you examine certain things, this thing had to happen before this thing can happen. Now you have a balancing act that has to take place. And if the balance is off, then somebody not getting the blessing that they were supposed to get. Now, do we then tell Yahweh, you didn't see fit to bless me? Or did you have to back up and say, no, you remember when you stepped out of line right over here? Now, you the reason there was not healing. I had already granted the healing. The healing was granted. What was said before you came to pray, I was already sent to you as soon as you start praying. But the Prince of Persia withstood me. But I had already been told to come to you, Daniel. I'm sorry, it's been 21 days. I've been fighting demons. But from day one that you open your mouth, Yahweh said, go. So when we don't receive, do we then blame Yahweh? Do we sit down and meditate upon our steps and see, did I walk away from my blessing and answer? And you don't know, it's still sitting in the place where he put it. It ain't went nowhere. You just ain't get to, you just didn't get to the place where he put it for you. Galatians chapter 2, and let's start that at verse 1.
Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also. And I went up by revelation, and communicated unto them that the gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run, or had run in vain. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised.
Now, Titus was not compelled to be circumcised. He went on another level with Timotheus. Now, brother, you going amongst them, this temple, all right? I'm going to tell you about my people now. Look here. Look at here. You may turn around and take a left to go get something to eat, and you in pieces by the time I come back. Let me tell you something about these people. You come near this temple, I'm going to need you to take care of this business. Go ahead.
In that, because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty, which we have in Yahshua HaMashiach, that they might bring us into bondage. To whom we gave place by subjection, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you.
Right, because at this point, now, these other brothers are saying, you can't continue in this except you get this circumcision. Circumcision wasn't commanded unto them. Now, what's happening now? We have one brother who was commanded to do a job, and then we got some other people who come amongst that job, and now they're going to tell the person who was given the charge how they need to do the charge. Now we got a problem. Go ahead.
But of these who seem to be somewhat whatsoever they were, it makes no matter to me. Elohim accept no man's person.
He does not care how great or whatever that man is supposed to be. All of the parts of the body must be able to work together. We have to be able to help without stepping on. Go ahead.
Were they who seemed to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the gospel of the circumcision was onto Cephas.
So they both have a job. One have a job on the left, the other one has a job on the right. Go ahead.
For he that wrought effectually in Cephas to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles.
And this is one of the most interesting parts. You know, for he that wrought effectually in Cephas to the apostleship of the circumcision. Cephas was sent to the children of Israel. It was Saul who was sent to the Gentiles. Yet, you don't hear any of the Gentiles claiming their authority through Saul. Because they want that power. So they claim the one who wouldn't even deal with them like that. Keep reading.
And when Jacob, Cephas, and Johanan, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship, that we should go on to the heathen, and they on to the circumcision. Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forward to do. But when Cephas was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from Jacob, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
Now, look at what kind of issue he has caused with this man's work. He says, but when Cephas was come, now this the rock on which the church was formed. He has authority. He has power to say things. Remember now, he got the keys. He can bind what's in heaven, what's on earth. He can change some things. But this change wasn't good. Because he did eat with the Gentiles until the other brethren came. Now, he pulls apart. Now we have to ask ourselves something. Now, it says, if your brother sinned against you, go and pull your brother and talk to your brother. And if he shall hear you, then you've gained your brother. Now, why didn't he pull him to the side? It wasn't him he sinned against. See, all the Gentiles is finna suffer because of this. There's a whole work, there's a whole branch of the ministry that's suffering because of this dissimulation. This ain't man on man. This is where we get things confused. This ain't man on man. See, there's certain things that have to be dealt with in the same arena in which it was done. See, I notice sometimes people will have, something happen and they'll privately deal with their child or privately Here's the problem. It was a publicly done situation. But you went and dealt with it privately. We done already seen how people get cut off for that. And Yahweh gonna give you a couple of warnings, and after that, he gonna stop warning. You get it where you act up at. You can't step on 1,000 individuals and then have a private conversation. Go ahead.
And the other Yehudim disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation.
All right, so what happened? He was teaching rebellion. He was teaching them to rebel against this brother's work. So now you got one department against another department. And one department has honor in that. Wait a minute, understand where this is coming from. This is coming from the rock. This is coming from the foundation. And the foundation is teaching rebellion against another department. This is power he's sitting on. So when he pulls away and don't deal with the Gentiles, what do you think everybody else gonna do? Now, none of these people are dealing with this right because of how he dealt with it. Now he's got to make a decision. How you gonna deal with this? Go ahead.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Cephas before them all, if you, being a Yehudim, liveth after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as the Yehudims, why compelleth you the Gentiles to live as do the Yehudims?
He said, but when I saw that he walked not upright according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Cephas before them all. Why? Because here's the problem with those private conversations. None of those people have been edified by that private conversation. So the dissimulation that has already gone forth, it's going to keep going. The rebellion that's been taught, it's going to keep going unless it's dealt with in the same arena in which the rebellion came out in. He couldn't go to him privately. What about all these people? Look, now one brother is doing that. Now another brother is doing that. Now 4 or 5 brothers is doing that. Now how is this going to affect the Gentiles? Now, when they get ready to come into the word, they're going to say, man, you can go over there if you want, but they ain't going to accept you. Why? Because I went to Jerusalem, man. And 1 minute, the rock, the one with the keys to the kingdom, was sitting there kicking it with us. As soon as some other brothers came up, the brother acted like he didn't know us. He walked away from us. So if I was you, I wouldn't deal with that. Now here go this brother to go and do this work. And this is what he keep hearing. No, he got to deal with it. Or else it spreads. That's one thing they said about any kind of cancer. If you don't cut off what it eat, it spreads. He's got to cut this off right there. So that every joint in the body works effectually the way it was designed to operate. Go ahead.
We who are Yehudis by nature and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahshua HaMashiach, even we have believed in Yahshua HaMashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Yahshua, and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. Mm-hmm. But if, while we seek to be justified by Yahshua, we ourselves also are found sinners, is therefore Yahshua the minister of sin? Elohim forbid. For if I build again the things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto Elohim. I am crucified with Yahshua, nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but Yahshua lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Elohim, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of Elohim, for if righteousness come by the law, then Yahshua is dead in vain.
All right, let's go to Mark chapter 7. Mark chapter 7, and we're going to start that at verse 1. See, Saul understood that he's got to gain back control of his department, or he's going to have some problem when he go back. He's going to have some serious problems. Matter of fact, those problems going to get back before he get back. They're going to already say, man, they're not going to accept you. He's got to deal with that. Mark chapter 7, let's start that at verse 1.
Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, what is to say, with unwashen hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Yehudims, except they wash their hands often, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. When the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not your disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashen hands? He answered and said unto them, what hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites? As it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of Elohim, you hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things you do. And he said unto them, full well you reject the commandment of Elohim, that you may keep your own tradition.
Full well you reject the commandment of Elohim, that you may keep your own tradition. See, there comes a point when we have to draw a line in between what we are accustomed to doing and what Yahweh wants us to do. Go ahead.
For Moshe said, honor your father and your mother, and whoso curse father or mother, let him die the death. But you say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is Corban, that is to say, a gift by whatsoever you might be profited by me, he shall be free. And you suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word of Elohim of none effect through your tradition, which you have delivered, and many such like things do you. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, hearken unto me every one of you, and understand, there's nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man.
Right. So then you have back up and consider the things that Cephas brought forth. He brought forth dissimulation, and he didn't even have to open his mouth. All he had to do was withdraw himself, and all of them saw it. And it multiplied. So now you have it brought forth by one individual, and it spreads. Now we have what we call a dis-ease in one part of the body, because that part not working the way it's supposed to. Go ahead.
If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he says unto them, Are you so without understanding also? Do you not perceive that whatsoever thing from without enters into the man, it cannot defile him? Because it enters not into his heart, but into the belly, and goes out into the draught, purging all meats. And he said, that which comes out of the man, that defiles the man. For from within, out of the heart of man, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All this All these evil things come from within and defile the man.
Right. And the adversary would love to have his way with us. He then knows that if he attack those thoughts, then those words are going to proceed out of our mouth. And now he got us in a defiled state. Oh, when it says he's a worthy adversary, trust and believe. He's a worthy adversary. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 5. You have to wonder, as Yeshua received this baptism and the spirit of Israel come and rest upon this body, and then he goes and fasts. The adversary, the devil, is watching the whole time. He don't just show up on the 40th day of the fast and recognize, all right, yeah, this is Israel. No. He knew the whole time where the spirit was going. He just couldn't touch it. Now comes the opportunity that this spirit enters this body. Here he comes. But he knew to wait. Oh, no. He fasting. I know what this is. He's like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I know you, Israel, son of Elohim. Right. You part of the let us make man. Yeah. Yeah, you made flesh, but you ain't never been in it, though. So, what does hunger feel like on the 40th day to you? Because you ain't never felt that. So now, I need to come at you. So these are the things that Yeshua was warning the rock about. Satan desires to sift you like wheat. And that battle is going to come in your mind. That's what he was warning them about. 1 Timothy chapter 5, and let's start at verse 1.
Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren.
So when Saul withstood Cephas to the face, why could he not do this privately? See, now we have a set of instructions, but then we have to know when, no, we on another level now. This is not a personal level. This is about work. And for the work's sake, for the body's sake, this must be rectified. Go ahead.
The elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters, with all purity.
So there's levels in each and every last one of these things. Even the elder women as mothers, they have their own set of authority. If they have labored in such a way. You don't just give it to them because they owe. No, they have earned a certain level of authority based on their work. Go ahead.
Honor widows that are widows indeed. But if any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to show piety at home and to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before Elohim. Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate, trust in Elohim, and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she that lives in pleasure is dead while she lives. And these things give in charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and specifically for those of his own house, he that denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 80 years old, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work.
Right. So then they're looking at all of these things. This honor is owed because they already paid the price for that. Then there's instructions. Hey, be careful how you deal with them. Go ahead.
But the younger widows refuse. For when they have begun to wax wanting against Yahshua, they will marry, having damnation, because they have cast off their first faith. And withal, they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and only idle, but tattlers also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not.
Right. This is what that idle time does. See, we end up watching these television shows about housewives, and we really think that that's what being a housewife is all about. They want to go on trips and have parties. When you look up, ain't no cleaning of the house, ain't no cooking, but folks swear they housewife. How you a housewife? What have you done in the house? And we keep watching these shows, and these people are poisoning us horribly. You have people on shows who are housewives, and they lack the criteria. They don't have a house, and they not a wife. How the hell are they even on the show? You lack the fundamental parts of what a housewife is, and we let them teach us. When a housewife let come out of her mouth, well, we gonna go on an all-girls trip. What? What the hell show you been watching? What show you been watching? But this is what's being fed to us. They're going off to Bahamas, leaving the kids and their spouses behind to go party. And this is what our people didn't believe, that this is what their job is. They have been poisoned. Go ahead.
I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give non-occasion to the adversary to speak reproachably.
You're gonna guide the house, you're gonna spend some time in it. You can't guide the house off partying every day. Go ahead.
For some are already turned aside after Satan. If any man or woman that believes have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged, that it may relieve them that are widows indeed. Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scripture says, you shall not muzzle the ox that treads out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward.
You shall not muzzle the ox that treads out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. Go ahead.
Against an elder receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses. Them that sin rebuke before all, that others also may fear. I charge you before Elohim, and the Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, and the elect angels, that you observe these things without preferring one before another, doing nothing by partiality.
I charge you before Elohim and the Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach and the elect angels that you observe these things without preferring one before the other, doing nothing by partiality. When we decide, you know what, I'm going to deal with this, but I ain't going to deal with that. We got partiality. Or I'll say something if this brother do it, but I won't say something if that brother do it. Then we're dealing with it with partiality. Oh, I'll say something to it if that brother wife do it, but I ain't gonna say nothing if my wife do it. I'm gonna get right on that brother's kid, but I ain't gonna say nothing to my kid. Oh, then you operating in partiality. And Yahshua gonna deal with that. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 4. First Corinthians chapter 4, and we're going to read verses 1 through 21.
Verse 1, let a man so account of us as of the ministers of the Mashiach and stewards of the mysteries of Elohim. Moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful.
If a man must be faithful to be a steward, let me tell you something. There's some hard times in that work. Being faithful means that, hey, even when things ain't beneficial to me, even when it ain't comfortable unto me, I'm going to still do what I need to do. Even when I may have suffered a little bit, you know what? I got a job to do. I'm going to still do it. Go ahead.
But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged of you, or of man's judgment. Yea, I judge not mine own self. For I know nothing by myself, yet am I not hereby justified. But he that judges me is the Adonai.
Right. I done heard folks come in here and say, hey man, who chastise y'all? Who check you? Who judge you? The same one to come in here, eat all your food, suck up all your air, suck up everything, and then talk about you, and they ain't even finished eating the food that they done got from you. Running off at the mouth. Go ahead.
Therefore judge nothing before the time until the Adonai come, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts. And then shall every man have praise of Elohim.
Right. When you look at something that says, therefore judge nothing before the time. Let me tell you something. Sometimes Yahweh will make you go sit in the corner. You'll hear something come to you, and you say, man, that sounds peculiar. And the Spirit leads you, now go sit over there in that corner and shut up. That might be 2-3 months. Okay, now it's finished. Now go take care of that. So you have to learn how to move when the Spirit moves. No. Go sit down. It ain't time yet. It ain't finished. Even if you tried to deal with it now, you wouldn't know what you was dealing with. Go sit down. That's a part about learning how to move when the Spirit moves. You may have understood something 2 or 3 months ago, but it wasn't done. And the Spirit won't let you move. Sit down and watch. Now, it's time to go deal with it. Judge no matter before it's time. Go ahead.
And these things, brethren, I have in a figure transferred to myself and to Apollos for your sakes, that you might learn in us not to think of men above that which is written.
Right, because when we do that, we then allow ourselves to trample on some other brothers because we have much respect for one that now we're stepping on 2 or 3. Go ahead.
That no one of you be puffed up for one against another. For who makes you to differ from another? And what have you that you did not receive? Now, if you did receive it, why does you glory as if you had not received it? Now you are full, now you are rich. You have reigned as kings without us. And I would to Elohim you did reign, that we also might reign with you. For I think that Elohim has set forth us, the apostles last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men.
A spectacle. Go ahead.
We are fools for Yahshua's sake, but you are wise in Yahshua. We are weak, but you are strong. You are honorable, but we are despised. Even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place.
Have no certain dwelling place. You're talking about a level of sacrifice that has to be paid for on the back end, or paid back on the back end. This is a heavy price. Everybody not going to be able to sit where these individuals sit because we didn't pay the same price that they paid. Go ahead.
And labor working with our own hands, being reviled, we bless, being persecuted, we suffer it, being defamed, we entreat. We are made as filth of the world, and are the offscouring of all things unto this day. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you.
I write not these things to shame you, but to warn you. Go ahead.
For though you have 10,000 instructors in Yahshua, yet have you not many fathers. For in the Mashiach Yahshua, I have begotten you through the gospel.
Listen to what he's saying. For though you have 10,000 instructors in the Mashiach, yet have you not many fathers. For in the Mashiach Yahshua, I have begotten you through the gospel. He said, no. Understand how you got this. Don't get it twisted. You may have 10,000 instructors, but it was on the label and the back of my shoulders that you are here. Don't get that twisted. To the point that now you're going to step on me. Understand there's order that has to be set forth there. Go ahead.
Wherefore I beseech you, be you followers of me. For this cause have I sent unto you Timotheus, who is my beloved son.
Here we go.
And faithful in the Adonai.
I will send to you, now listen to this, for this cause I have sent unto you Timotheus, who is my beloved son. He's my beloved son. I have raised him up in this word. All right? Don't come at him with that here Gentile stuff. He is my son. He's not my son in the flesh. He's my son in the spirit. We share the same direction. Go ahead.
Who shall bring you into remembrance of my ways, which be in Yahshua, as I teach everywhere in every church. Now some are puffed up as though I would not come to you, but I'll come to you shortly, if the Adonai will, and will know, not the speech of them which are puffed up, but the power. For the kingdom of Elohim is not in word, but in power. What will you? Shall I come unto you with a rod, or in love, and in the spirit of meekness?
So then we have to ask ourselves, how do we want the Adonai to appear unto us? Will he appear unto us in love and meekness, or is he coming to us with a disciplinary rod? The rod is for correction. All right? Let's not get it twisted. If he shows up with a rod, he's coming up for disciplinary action. Why would he be disciplining us? What has he charged us with that we have not completed? If we can answer those, then we understand why he showed up with a rod. If he show up with love, then that means we set our own pride and things aside so that we can get the job done. You'll know which one you did when you see how he show up. If you see him with the rod in his hand, you, my friend, did not accomplish the things that were charged of you. Let it not be so with us. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.